$143.8 billion.
It's a number it's almost hard to wrap your head around, isn't it?
It really is. And that's the revenue Apple just posted for their first quarter of fiscal year 2026. And to put that in context, that is up 16% year over year.
A record. In almost every sense of the word, a record-breaking quarter.
And it feels like such a massive turnaround. I mean, you think back just a year ago, and the whole narrative was iPhone sales are leveling off, innovation is dead.
Oh, absolutely. The Apple is doomed. Headlines were everywhere. People were genuinely worried that the growth story was over.
And now this. iPhone revenue up 23%. It's like whiplash.
It's a total rebound. They didn't just meet expectations, they blew the doors off.
So on today's deep dive, we're going to get under the hood of this thing. First, we'll unpack how the iPhone 17 supercycle drove these financials.
Then we have to talk about their AI strategy. This new hybrid approach with Google is, well, it's a big deal.
And finally, the one thing that could actually derail this whole train, the supply chain.
Because for all the good news, Tim Cook was very clear. They literally can't build these phones fast enough.
Which is a great problem to have, I guess, until it isn't. But before we get into all that, we do need to pause for a moment.
Right.
We hear
investing has risks, so please do your own homework or talk to a professional before you jump in.
Okay, let's start with the big numbers. I threw out that massive revenue figure, $143.8 billion. But take us a layer deeper. What did the actual profit look like?
The bottom line is, in some ways, even more impressive. Their net income, so pure profit after everything is paid for, was $42.1 billion.
$42 billion in just 3 months.
In 3 months. And that translates to earnings per share, or EPS, of $2.84. That's up 19% from last year.
For a company this big, growing earnings at nearly 20% that's just wild.
It's startup-level growth from the biggest company on the planet.
So where is this all coming from? Is it just the new phone?
The engine is undeniably the iPhone. Tim Cook himself used the word staggering to describe the demand. iPhone revenue alone was $85.3 billion.
Which is that 23% jump.
That's the one. And this is driven by the iPhone 17 family, the Pro Max, and that new Air model. It's a classic supercycle.
But is it just the loyalists? The people who upgrade every single year no matter what?
And that's the crucial detail because, the upgraders, as you call them, did show up in record numbers, but Tim Cook pointed out they also saw double-digit growth in switchers.
People coming over from Android.
Exactly. And think about how hard that is these days. Most people are really locked into their ecosystem. To convince someone to leave all that behind for Apple requires a very, very compelling product.
So that new Air model must be hitting a real sweet spot in the market.
It's definitely pulling people in. It seems to have the right mix of features, design, and battery life.
Okay, speaking of pulling people in, we have to talk about China. Because for the last, 2 years, every headline has been about Apple's problems in China. Competition, geopolitical stuff.
It was the single biggest worry for investors. The fear was that they were losing their grip on that massive market.
And then this report drops. What on earth happened?
It was the shock of the call, really. Greater China revenue grew 38% year over year.
38%. That's not a recovery. That's an explosion.
It is. They hit $25.5 billion in sales there. It turns out the iPhone 17 just resonated incredibly well, especially in urban China. It seems the brand is a lot stronger there than people thought.
So that whole doom and gloom narrative was just wrong.
It was overturned in a single quarter. It shows that at the end of the day, a great product can still win.
Incredible. So the hardware is firing on all cylinders. But the long-term story is always about the ecosystem, right? The services division, how did that do?
Services is now a fortress. Another all-time record. $30 billion in revenue, up 14%.
Just to put that number in perspective, the services business alone is bigger than the entire revenue of most Fortune 500 companies.
It's enormous. And that's everything from the App Store and iCloud to Apple Music and, of course, Apple TV Plus.
What's a note on TV Plus? Viewership is way up.
Up 36%. They're hitting their stride. They teased Ted Lasso Season 4 is coming, and a new Spielberg and Scorsese series. They're not playing around.
They're really flexing those media muscles.
They are, but if you ask me for the single most important number for Apple's future, it's not the revenue. It's not even Ted Lasso.
Okay, what is it?
It's the active install base. They just crossed 2.5 billion active devices.
2.5 billion.
Yeah. Think about that. That's 2.5 billion screens where they can sell subscriptions and deploy their new AI features. That is their addressable market. It's the foundation of the whole business.
And it must be an incredibly profitable foundation. I assume the margins on a subscription are a lot better than on a physical phone.
Oh, much better. This is what we call the profitability machine. Their overall gross margin was 48.2%, which is very good.
Okay, can you just quickly define gross margin for us?
Sure. It's basically the profit they make on a product after you subtract the direct costs of making it. So if a phone sells for $1,000 and the parts and labor cost $500, the margin is 50%.
Got it.
But for services, the margin is 76.5%.
76. Wait, so for every dollar they make on the App Store or iCloud, they keep 76.5 cents as gross profit.
That's right. Because the cost to sell one more subscription is almost zero. That high-margin business is the safety net that lets them take big swings elsewhere.
Which brings us to AI. The big criticism for a while was that Apple was asleep at the wheel. Everyone else was releasing chatbots, and Apple was quiet. This earnings call felt like a direct answer to that, didn't it?
It really did. First off, they're putting their money where their mouth is. R&D spending jumped to $10.9 billion this quarter.
Up from, what, about $8 billion last year?
Around 8.3, yeah. They're making, as the CFO put it, incremental investments in AI. But it's the strategy that's interesting.
This hybrid approach.
Yeah.
Because they confirmed they're working with Google, right?
They did. And this is key. Apple is not trying to build one giant AI to rule them all. The strategy has two parts.
Okay, so what does that look like for me, holding the phone?
Well, the first part is on-device. Your iPhone has a powerful neural engine. It handles personal tasks, summarizing your emails, finding a specific photo, checking your calendar. That stuff stays on your phone, it's private, and it's fast.
That makes sense. That's the Apple part.
Yeah.
So where does Google fit in?
Google comes in for the really heavy cloud-based tasks. If you ask Siri a complex question about, quantum physics or ask it to write a screenplay, your phone can't do that alone.
It needs a huge language model in a data center somewhere.
Exactly. So it taps into Google's tech for that world knowledge piece alongside their own private cloud compute. It's pragmatic. Why spend $100 billion building a generic chatbot when you can partner for it?
So they focus on the user experience and integration, not on building the biggest model from scratch.
That is the classic Apple playbook. Let others figure out the raw tech, then perfect the integration.
And speaking of integration, they also bought a company, Q.AI.
A small Israeli startup. And this is another classic Apple move. Q.AI specializes in audio AI, not chatbots. Think communication enhancement.
Which connects directly to the new AirPods Pro 3 features.
You got it. Live translation, intelligent noise cancellation. They buy very specific tech to solve very specific user problems. It's practical AI.
Okay, so it all sounds great, but it wasn't a perfect quarter. Where were the weak spots? I saw the Mac numbers looked a little rough.
They were. Mac revenue was down 7% to $8.4 billion.
Ouch. That's a real drop.
It is, but it's mostly due to a tough comparison. Last year at this time, they had just launched the M4 MacBooks, which was a huge release. This quarter was quieter, so it's more of a timing issue.
Okay, so a calendar problem, not a demand problem. What else?
The other miss was wearables, so Apple Watch and AirPods. Down 2%.
But wait, you just said the AirPods Pro 3 are packed with new AI features. Why would sales be down?
Because they couldn't make enough of them. The product is a hit, but the supply chain couldn't keep up. And that really is the main challenge they're facing right now.
The supply chase mode, as Tim Cook called it.
That's the exact phrase he used. Their guidance for next quarter is strong, 13 to 16% growth. But he admitted it's capped by how many devices they can physically build.
Let's break that down. What's the actual bottleneck? I hear terms like advanced node constraints.
Right. So the brain of the iPhone 17 is a chip made on a 3-nanometer process. To give you a sense of scale, a human hair is about 80,000 nanometers wide.
So we're talking about engineering on an atomic level.
The bleeding edge of physics. And there's basically only one company in the world, TSMC in Taiwan, that can make these chips at scale. Apple wants a massive number of them. NVIDIA wants them for their AI servers. Everyone wants them.
And TSMC just can't make them fast enough to meet all that demand.
The manufacturing lines are completely full. There's no slack in the system.
So they've got customers lined up, ready to buy, but they can't get the silicon to build the phones.
Correct. And on top of that, there's a second problem looming. The price of memory is skyrocketing.
And this is also because of the AI boom.
Yes. All those new AI data centers need a ton of memory chips, DRAM and NAND. That huge demand is driving up the price for everyone, including Apple, who needs that same memory for the iPhone.
So it's actually getting more expensive for them to build each phone.
Exactly. Tim Cook warned that it's going to start hitting their gross margins next quarter.
That's a tough spot to be in, paying more for parts you can't get enough of.
It is. And the only reason they can absorb that pressure and still guide for such high margins is because of that services business we talked about. It's their financial shock absorber.
It all comes full circle.
Okay.
Let's wrap this up. If you had to give our listeners a cheat sheet, 4 key takeaways from this massive quarter, what would they be?
Okay, number 1. The financials are record-breaking. $143.8 billion in revenue. The iPhone is back in a big way, up 23%. The super cycle is real.
Number 2, China.
The comeback kid, up 38%. It proves the brand is still incredibly powerful there, despite all the negative headlines.
Number 3, the AI strategy.
It's here, and it's hybrid. They're using Google for the heavy lifting in the cloud while buying small, smart startups like Q.AI to solve specific problems. It's pragmatic.
And finally, number 4, the risk.
Success has a price. They literally can't build these phones fast enough because of chip shortages, and their costs are going up because of the memory price spike.
A fascinating mix of huge demand and logistical nightmares. It really is. And that leaves me with one final thought for you to chew on.
Let's hear it.
We spend all this time talking about the AI wars. You know, who has the smartest chatbot? But with 2.5 billion active devices, Apple is positioning itself not as the smartest AI creator, but as the gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper.
Think about it. They don't have to build the best AI brain in the world. They just have to control the screen you use to access it. If they own the interface, they own the customer. But the real question is, can they keep those incredibly high margins if they have to pay a toll to partners like Google for the intelligence behind the curtain?
Does the gatekeepers eventually have to pay the content creator? That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
That's the one to watch over the next few years.
That's a fantastic point to end on. Thank you so much for breaking all of this down for us.
My pleasure. Always fun to get into the numbers.
And thank you all for listening. We hope this gave you a clearer picture of Apple's massive quarter. 业这这，除了的这个